Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're completely flipping the script on multi-agent AI. Instead of treating it like a pure tech project, we're going to look at how to manage it as a rigorously governed business process. Because if you've been building or scaling these systems, you already know the stakes are incredibly high, and honestly, the old ways just aren't cutting it. So let's kick things off with a pretty provocative question. Think about it. When your network of specialized AI agents makes a cascading error, who exactly is at fault? Is it just a software bug, or did your business rules completely break down? As enterprises sprint from using simple, single-model assistants to these massive, complex networks of agents acting with almost zero human review, answering this question becomes absolutely crucial. All right, here's our roadmap for today. We'll cover the multi-agent orchestration problem, why process beats tools, applying a 6-step framework, mastering handoffs, scoring risk, and wrapping up with a real-world quota schedule application. Let's jump in. Section 1. The multi-agent orchestration problem. First up, we really need to define the hurdle enterprises hit when they scale to complex agent networks. See, most organizations treat orchestration software as just plumbing. They view it as a simple message router between agents, and vendors sell it exactly like that, just a technical capability, like a message bus. But here's the massive catch. Orchestration without process governance gives you agent networks that might run incredibly fast, but they are ridiculously expensive to debug and virtually impossible to audit when things go sideways. We absolutely have to shift our mindset from orchestration as plumbing, passing mere technical payloads, to orchestration as governance that actually carries causal business data. And this perfectly illustrates why relying solely on the tech leads to 3 massive recurring deployment failures. First off, you get context loss at handoff. That's when an agent finishes its job but doesn't pass along the exact structured data the next agent actually needs. Second, ownership ambiguity. When a bad outcome happens, nobody knows who's responsible because the logic is buried deep in code, not in a documented process. And third, ungoverned drift. Your agents get updated independently, they silently shift their behavior, and boom, your whole sequence is thrown off. Remember, these aren't model problems, they are process deployment problems. Section 2. Process first, tools second. So, how do we fix this? Enter the Integrated Process Excellence Framework, or IPE, developed by John Cashat. This is a true paradigm shift. It's a deployment framework that sits right on top of whatever technical orchestration tool you decide to run. It treats multi-agent orchestration like what it actually is, a governed process. Under IPE, every single agent is viewed as an actor doing a specific, defined job within a governed area. The golden rule here is that your orchestration platform must be deployed against a clearly documented process, not the other way around. IPE insists that the process has to be completely defined before you even select or configure the tool. Because if you let the software dictate the process by default, you're treating it like a pure tech build, and you can kiss your end-to-end auditability goodbye. Section 3. Applying the 6-step framework. Okay, so what does this actually look like in practice? It builds into a practical, repeatable 6-step methodology. Step 1, you start by creating a positive environment, setting shared goals and clear trust boundaries across everyone and every agent. Then, you define and document the process. Things like task routing and fallback paths need to be governed process assets, not just hidden configurations. Next, you communicate that map to every single stakeholder. Finally, you measure and control the process at every handoff and feed that exact data straight into continuous improvement. It ensures everyone is quite literally operating from the exact same process of record. Section 4. Mastering AI agent handoffs. Look, the single biggest point of failure in these multi-agent systems is the handoff, the exact moment one agent's output becomes the next one's input. Instead of just dumping a generic, messy payload across the network, every handoff has to start with a KIV, or key input variables. This is exactly what the receiving agent requires to act correctly. We're talking context, constraints, and any prior decisions made. Next up are your KPVs, key process variables. Think of these as your real-time guardrails. They lay out exactly what must be true during execution for the handoff to actually be trustworthy. They define the confidence thresholds and the specific conditions where an agent is authorized to keep going without having to flag down a human. And finally, we have the KOV, the key output variables. This guarantees that what the sending agent spits out is perfectly structured for the next actor to consume. No guessing, no reinterpreting the data.
When you mandate this strict KIV-KPV-KOV package, you cross the massive gap from a bunch of loosely connected bots to a network that is fully auditable from start to finish.
Section 5. Scoring risk before it happens.
Now, you can't heavily govern every single interaction, right? So how do you know which handoffs to prioritize? That's where SMEA comes in, success mode and effects analysis. It mathematically scores your orchestration risks based on BOM, benefit, occurrence, and mitigation. For example, if there's a risk of an agent missing context, the benefit of fixing it is huge because it prevents major rework down the line. If it's a common occurrence, you mitigate it by forcing that KIV-KPV-KOV data package. Basically, you're applying your governance precisely where it matters most.
To anchor all of this structurally, before you even touch your software configuration, IPE requires a SIPOC map. That maps out the suppliers, inputs, process, outputs, and customers for the network at the activity level. Why do this first? Because it guarantees that if you decide to rip out and change your orchestration vendor a year from now, you won't lose the structural governance of your AI network.
Section 6. Application Quote to Schedule. Let's bring all these acronyms down to earth with a real-world manufacturing example, a 24-hour quote turnaround in a plastic injection molding operation. Think of it like a relay race. In hour 1, the intake agent structures the RFQ. It hands off to the costing agent to apply material models by hour 4. That agent passes the baton to scheduling to check press availability by hour 12. And finally, the communications agent drafts the quote by hour 24. Without IPE governance, these are just 4 messy, independent software integrations. If a quote is wrong, good luck tracing it back to the source. But with IPE governance, we identify exactly where that baton is most likely to drop. Using our SMEA scoring, we pinpoint the costing to scheduling handoff, where things like die change times are frequently underestimated, as our highest priority control point. By catching this, your orchestration platform remains just a technology choice, while the traceability and improvement loops belong firmly to your process definition. This leads us to the ultimate unlock for multi-agent systems, and it's beautifully summed up by the creator of the framework himself, John Kahat. He says, data plus process equals AI ROI. Look, multi-agent systems naturally generate mountains of data and activity, but only a rigorously governed process can reliably convert all of that into auditable business outcomes. And honestly, here's the absolute best part. Your organization doesn't have to start from a blank page. Thanks to pre-populated SIPOC libraries, known as IP packs, you get immediate access to sector-specific process intelligence. There are currently 81 packs ready to go, covering manufacturing domains like injection molding and sheet metal, right alongside healthcare, technology, and enterprise governance. You can literally jumpstart your orchestration initiative with best-in-class structural maps from day one. I'll leave you with this final thought to evaluate your own organization's AI deployments. As new frameworks and vendors constantly pop up promising easier agent coordination, you've got to ask yourself, when the automation inevitably fails, do you just blame the tool, or do you have the ability to audit the process? When the agent network produces the wrong outcome, whose process was it, and exactly where did the definition break down? Remember, it is process first, tool second. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep structuring those processes, and I'll catch you next time.